turned it around. It was 2-2 up to half-time, and then they've unfortunately fell away a little bit in that quarter. But a lot of a good fight back from being 5-0 the previous time against them. Right, so we've got some other domestic results. Donny?
Yeah, so we couldn't be a sports program in Western Australia and not mention the West Coast Eagles. I know we've got no West Coast Eagles fans in this room, but still a fantastic result for them. Winning the game in extra time. There's not too many finals that go into extra time, and they're able to get the job done against Port Adelaide. A really good performance, and now every chance, I suppose, this week against a wounded GWS.
Yep. So the last time it happened was 2007. It was the West Coast Eagles, and they lost to Collingwood. So they obviously turned it around this time. Look, it was good to see a decent final, because the final series so far was absolute trash. And unless you were a Swans fan, then you would have been absolutely loving it, or a Richmond fan, or a Crows fan. But as a football fan in general, it hasn't been great watching. And West Coast and Port really turned it on. It was Luke Shuey.
How calm and collected was he? Even during the interview, after he got mobbed and everything, stuck a microphone underneath him. He wasn't puffing or exacerbated or anything. He was just answered the questions. Cool.
Yeah, I was. You just sitting there. It did feel like Port ran away with it in that first 5 minutes. They kicked a couple and they were suddenly out, and you're thinking, oh no, that's it. They're going to do this, and then. Josh Kennedy, as he always does, just bobs up and just kicks that clutch goal, and you're like, righto, game on. And then that was it. It was,
My biggest problem I've got so far is just it's the decision for Luke Shuey. Everything's been directed at that decision has been costing him. I think it's probably not fair on the umpires. I think it's really overshadowed a good game as a whole. So. Yeah. One decision shouldn't be the sole talking point of the entire game. So,
well, at the end of the day, Port Adelaide had everything in their favour. They finished higher on the ladder. They were playing in their backyard. They had plenty of chances to win the game. If they're going to put it all down onto that one moment, that one sort of 3 seconds of the game as the reason why they lost, then they need to have a good hard look at themselves, I think.
I didn't hear it, but apparently straight after the contest on Fox Footy, that's what they spent the next 15 minutes, was just minute by millisecond replay of that incident. And
the umpires don't get that chance, do they?
The good guys like Luke Hodge or Dangerfield and that, they would have made that tackle stick. Wouldn't have, you can argue that maybe he slipped his arm a little bit, but the good guys are going to tackle and they're going to hold that tackle. Granted, they've played 4 quarters of footy plus extra time, so there's a few tired boys out there.
6 quarters of footy.
Yeah, it's but the good guys make it stick. And I think the other thing as well that needs to be mentioned about that game is Eric McKenzie. He made that draw. That suicide dive into the goalpost, into the behind post to stop that ball from going over for a behind to keep them in the game. I know the Eagles fans will talk about it because I have seen them talk about it. They're calling him Superman as well as Shuey, but he really and that's what we come to expect from Eric McKenzie, and that's why. Even though he has struggled to stay in and out of the side, that's why he keeps getting a contract, because he just puts his body on the line like that all the time. Yep. So they're going to take on GWS, and they've got every chance.
They are very gettable.
They have every chance. Jeremy Cameron's out now. He's out with injury. Stevie J, we still don't know what's happening with him. Apparently,
no one in the ruck.
Mumford's
He's
injured.
gone.
Well, Mumford shouldn't have played last week.
No.
Either. He was nowhere.
No, he was a battered body. Eagles have every chance to do this, and then they go over to play Richmond.
Yep, and
Richmond.
Well, exactly. Serial chokers. All the pressure is going to be on them. There'll be no pressure on West Coast whatsoever. They won't be expected to win, but they've got to get past GWS first. They win that, they're in a grand final, which is.
Richmond
ridiculous,
losing to West Coast at the MCG would be the most Richmond thing that could happen in this AFL season.
Richmond, there's a lot of people talk in Melbourne that if Richmond do lose, that the exodus out of Melbourne will be horrendous. There'll be just Richmond supporters, that's it. That's it. We'll catch you later. We're out of here. We'll see you next year. They're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to stay in the state.
Yeah.
No, they wouldn't be able to.
Well, as they've
you
all
wouldn't
said,
be able to wear a
league's
Richmond
off.
jersey ever again.
It's Tiger time, apparently. It's Tiger time. So
Yeah, that's it. I mean, look, their window's going to be open for a little while still, but yeah, if they've ever got a chance to be there in September, it's this year. They've got one game against either a battled GWS who are losing players left, right, and centre,
or the team that finished eighth.
The team that finished eighth, who no one gave a chance to. I mean, we were writing them off from even making the eight up until 15
the
minutes.
full-time siren went in
That's it. When
last round. Yeah.
that's it, where they crushed the hearts of every Melbourne fan out there. And that was the thing about this season. It's been so competitive and so close that really anyone who made the eight had a chance at going all the way, and West Coast are going to look like they might take their chances. So we got some NRL WA results as well.
Yeah, so preliminary final time last weekend in the NRL WA, and we move it. So the winner goes through to the grand final. So all grades. The Joondalup Giants won through in the Val Murphy Trophy, which is the third grade. Beat the minor premiers. The minor premiers went out in straight sets. The under-18s, unfortunately, the preliminary final, I don't know whether there's too many preliminary finals that end in a forfeit, but unfortunately the South Perth Lions were unable to field a team in the under-18s, so Joondalup go straight through to the grand final, which is...
are you serious?
It's a difficult age group, so yeah, they've struggled all year and with numbers, and they forfeited last week at half-time in their major semi, and then they couldn't get the numbers at all for the prelim.
That's bizarre, because normally it's when you're not doing well that you struggle, and when you're doing really well, that's when they all come out of the woodwork. Like guys that you haven't seen for 5-6 seasons are suddenly rocking around like they've been there the whole time.
Yeah, it's been a constant argument within the league. They started the year playing Saturday afternoons, and I think we had one forfeit in the opening 6 rounds, and then all of a sudden, after 6 rounds, they decided to move it to Friday nights. And after moving to Friday nights, basically 1 in 3 games was ending in a forfeit, which, I don't know why they didn't just change it back, but apparently they're stuck on Friday nights now.
Jeez, that's something we need to look at, actually. Do a bit of research on that. That's a blowtorch segment if I ever heard one.
It's an odd time slot.
Yeah.
But anyway, sort of back to the prelims. Reserve grade was a great story. So a real feel good story. The Willagee Bears. This is a club that they were extinct 18 months ago. The club folded. They weren't going to field a team at the start of last season. They got a few people together, and they were able to sort of get the defibrillator out, and they restarted the heart of the Bears, and they got them up and going again. And now they've been able to work their way up. They won the minor premiership in reserve grade. Now they've just earned their way into the grand final with a really hard-fought win over the North Beach Sea Eagles. The Sea Eagles, they had a host of first-grade players playing in their reserve grade team because their first-grade team's been knocked out. It was a real Peel Thunder-like situation, but the Bears, they were able to get the job done. And the top grade, so the main game of the day, Rockingham, who were the minor premiers, taking on the Joondalup Giants. The Giants flew out of the blocks. They're a monstrous team. They're not just Giants as their logo. They are just the biggest team I've ever seen in this competition. They came out. They scored first. They scored second. Both goals kicked from the sideline. They scored third. All of a sudden, they're leading 18-0 after 25 minutes. They were running away with the game. The game looked just about over. And then all of a sudden, Rockingham got a penalty coming out of their own end. They got another penalty. They got up the other end, scored just before half-time. So went in down 18-6, and they came out a different team in the second half. They flew all over the top, and they won 20. They ended up winning 30 points to 18 after being down 18-0.
That's a cracking effort coming on like that.
Was a great game, so they booked their spot in the grand final against the Fremantle Roosters on Saturday.
And that's fantastic. We'll have to look into that and get the results.
Yeah, I'll certainly put the link on the page. I'll be calling the grand final. So looking forward to that. And
who's your tip?
Oh, I tell you what, I've got the keys in the bowl. I'm swinging from day to day. It's
that wasn't what he was asking you, mate. So
I change my tip every day. I'm probably leaning at the moment towards the Roosters. I think they've got a couple of blokes coming back into their team this week that'll make a real difference. I think they'll be very hard to beat.
No worries. All right, so we'll move on to the waffle, and I know there's a bit of conjecture about a couple of these results. So I'll go through the results first, and then we can either yay or nay or sledge. So South Freo beat Swan Districts. Now that was wasn't a great game to watch. 36 to 56. A couple of mentions. David Ellard, who's son of Rick, who came in earlier, he had 34 touches, 3 tackles, so he did his job. He had a great day. Tony Knott, who's a local boy as well, he's 12 touches, 4 marks. He's probably a bit below where he likes to be. He usually plays a bit better.
Just a shout out to those guys as well. Tony Knott's retiring, so that was his last game.
As well as Ames.
Talon Ames.
Yep, Talon Ames.
Coach as well. He's moved on.
Yep. So look, wonderful career, and we've got Swan Districts had a side in the league. Rezzies and Colts all playing in finals today. So on Sunday. Subi versus Peel. Subi 68, Peel 92. We'll get into that in a sec. The reserves, and we never like to lose to Claremont, but Claremont defeated the Swans 84 to 59, and just to mention from a local boy, Swan Valley, Jordan Bill, he didn't get too much opportunity. He only had the 3 touches, but I'm sure he'll bounce back from that. He's definitely a better player than that. And the South Fremantle reserves took on Subies, and they won 76 to 39. And Josh Pullman, he was playing in that one. So he's, like we mentioned last week, Josh is a local Ellenbrook boy, and he's moved over to South, so good on him for that. And Colts, Swan Districts lost 23 to 111 against East Perth. So that's a long day.
It's a hard day.
It's a hard day. And East Fremantle 79 to 64 Claremont. So Peel. It's the elephant in the room that's not really an elephant because everyone knows it's there and everyone's happy to talk about it. But it does seem to be causing a lot of anger and a lot of angst out there in the waffle community. It's either there's not really an on the fence for this one. You're either against it or you're for it. I've found.
It must be just poking the bear that little bit more that Zach Dawson knocks a bloke out with a off-the-ball bump and he never even gets cited. So
yeah. And just on Zach Dawson, I think he'd be stoked because it's the first time in his AFL career he's been referred to as an AFL player. Because everyone's up in arms that an AFL player is running around out there, and him and Daniel Pearce must be over the moon at the moment because they're definitely looking at each other going, "Now talking about us." But look, I did up a few stats. I actually did some research on this one, and there's 14 listed Dockers that were playing on the weekend. So we've got Zach Dawson, Nick Subin, Tom Sheridan, Sean Darcy, Garrick Ibbotson, John Griffin, Cam Sutcliffe, Matt Taberner, Griffin Logue, Luke Ryan, Ryan Nyhouse, Dan Pearce, Josh DeLuca, and Sam Collins. Now, of those players, I've gone through and worked out, and I had a lot of time on my hands, obviously, work out how many games they played for the Fremantle Dockers and how many games they'd played for the Peel Thunder. Now, Zach Dawson played 2 AFL games. The first 2 games he got dropped, was never seen again. So he gets a tick from me. He's okay to play waffle. He shouldn't have even played those 2 games. Why he's even a Fremantle is beyond anyone.
Photos.
Now, Nick Subin played 12 games, but he played the last 10 of the season for Ellenbrook, so he gets across. For Fremantle, so he gets across from me. I don't think he should have played. I think he is a waffle player. An AFL player. He's still obviously a part of Ross's plan. Tom Sheridan and Cam Sutcliffe. Now, Tommy played 9, and Cam Sutcliffe played 12. 6 and 6, so 6 in the first half, 6 in the second. What are your thoughts on those two? Like, should they play, or are they